Welcome to satsang. So, everybody in this room, for one reason or another, is either interested in higher consciousness or enlightenment. And it's that interest or curiosity or longing for freedom that brings us to have a look. Enlightenment itself is not well understood, but basically because the person that wants to become enlightened never becomes enlightened. That's not a possibility because that person is actually not real. Enlightenment is when that's aware of the mind, aware of the ego, becomes aware of itself in a continuing manner. And so it's not the person that wants to become enlightened that actually wakes up. The ego can't come to that party. And so the endeavour from the mind's perspective towards enlightenment is in a lot of ways an endeavour towards its own annihilation. And when it drops and awareness becomes aware of itself, the mind just rests in that because it's beautiful. And it's absolutely obvious that it's impossible to actually be a someone, a somebody, because you are beingness. Now, this is a rarity in our society, mostly because the mind, the ego, is actually a survival mechanism. And it doesn't want to die, it doesn't want to be out of control. It wants to maintain something, it wants something for itself. And as you go higher in consciousness, you start to realize that there is nothing for it, for you as an I, in enlightenment. It is actually over. It's the end of that dream. And in a way, the beginning of reality. Without imagination, the ego cannot exist. And as we all know, imagination is not real. So the endeavour here is to help people remove whatever's in the way of awareness becoming aware of itself. And the only thing that's actually in the way of that is the mind, the ego, and its constant trying to control situations through resistance and contraction. And so all teachers who teach truth teach surrender. And that's not in our repertoire as a mind because it's against survival. And it's difficult to learn because it's against survival. In Taoism, they talk about the yin and the yang. And in a lot of ways, enlightenment is about embracing the yin and letting go of the yang. All human beings live as yang. The ego lives as yang. It is an outgoing force. Yin is the principle of receptivity, sometimes called feminine. But if we look at receptivity, we discover that it's an absence. It's an absence of anything being in the way. And so, in the journey, and I use that word very loosely, towards enlightenment, it is really about undoing everything, removing whatever obstacles are in the way. And this is the best the mind can do. The practice of acceptance, the practice of surrender, the practice of non-resistance. And as it learns to remove itself more and more from the scene, consciousness levels rise. Because it's the contractions that the mind has, the resistance to life that it has, that keeps it locked in lower consciousness. Every day we are offered opportunities to practice acceptance and surrender, every day. Because every day there's things that we disagree with, that we're not happy with, that we're dissatisfied with. And usually when we're not happy or dissatisfied, we go into some form of contraction, resistance to control whatever it is that's not working for us. Which is normal, that's natural. The opposite of that is to move to acceptance, to non-resistance. And that is unnatural, because that's against survival. But this is how people raise their consciousness levels. Animals can't do it because they're actually not intelligent enough to. But human beings are intelligent enough to go against their own survival mechanism and practice surrender and acceptance. And because of that, their consciousness levels can go through the roof. We can go to higher consciousness, which is basically seeing through the mind, not getting caught in the mind, not getting caught in contraction or resistance. Instead of reacting to life, responding, because the mind is seen in all its aspects, all its agendas, all its defense systems, all its belief systems. Because there's been developed a silent witness that watches it. When the mind levels out and can handle being attacked without reaction, it has hit a point of equanimity that will support enlightenment. But that is pretty high in consciousness levels. And from that point, if awareness finds awareness, we go to superconsciousness, which is awareness of everything. And then the mind finds itself profoundly content for no reason, which is my definition of happiness. True happiness, to be profoundly content for no reason. So we have these meetings where interested people come along and we have a chat. And your intention may be to get knowledge or get an energy hit or something. I have a different intention. You see, I know what's required for enlightenment. And it is the unconditional surrender of everything that you value. You don't take anything with you to enlightenment. As a matter of fact, there's an absence of you. And so my intention when you talk to me is to see if I can help you undo you so you can be free. I don't come here just to hand out knowledge, because you can get that from any book, in any library, anywhere in the world. That doesn't help. The collection of knowledge doesn't raise your consciousness levels, and it never healed a wound to the heart. And so in a lot of ways, talking to me, playing this game with me, is probably the most dangerous thing your ego can ever do. Because I don't have the intention of making you bigger, better, or more powerful. I have the intention of undoing you so you can be free of the prison that you're in that calls itself I.